Welcome to Fear Spiral. The city lights of Seattle always look best blurred through a window, a soft watercolor painting against the night sky. For me, Aiden, a freelance photographer, they're the backdrop to my life, viewed from the dim glow of my editing suite, which is really just my apartment living room. Tonight, it's a wedding, hundreds of photos, a sea of forced smiles and clinking champagne glasses. The job pays the bills, but after a while, every joyful moment starts to look the same. I was on autopilot, clicking through, adjusting brightness, cropping out a photobombing uncle, when I stopped. One picture. It wasn't even a great shot, technically. A bit blurry, a bit underexposed. The bride, sitting at a candlelit table, bathed in that warm, flickering glow. Her face was slightly out of focus, her eyes angled away from the camera, looking at someone just out of frame. It was an okay candid, nothing special, but something about it made me pause. I zoomed in, wanting to check the focus. That's when it happened. Her eyes, they moved. Just a fraction of a millimeter, but it was undeniable. The pupils, tiny digital dots of light and shadow, shifted to stare directly at me. I physically recoiled, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. My heart hammered against my ribs. I blinked, convinced my eyes were playing tricks on me. It had been a long day, a long week. Too much caffeine, not enough sleep. I looked back at the screen. The photo was still. The bride's gaze was once again fixed on that unseen person. I let out a shaky laugh, the sound swallowed by the silence of my apartment. Okay, Aiden, time for bed. I mumbled to myself. It had to be exhaustion. A hallucination brought on by staring at a screen for 12 hours straight, but my curiosity was a stubborn itch. I scrolled to the next photo in the sequence. The bride was laughing now, her head thrown back. I zoomed in again, my breath held tight in my chest. Her eyes were closed mid-laugh. I scrolled to the next. Her head was turning back towards the table. I zoomed. Her eyes were half open, but they were looking right at me. A cold dread, heavy and suffocating, started to creep up my spine. This wasn't a trick of the light. This wasn't exhaustion. With trembling hands, I went back to the first photo. Still, I went forward again. Looking at me, I started clicking through the entire set. Dozens of photos of her at that table. And in every single one, as soon as I zoomed in, her digital eyes would shift, following my cursor on the screen. No, it felt more personal than that. They were following me, from a candid laugh to a quiet smile, from a glance at her new husband to a sip of champagne. The moment I magnified her face, her eyes found mine. It was impossible. It defied all logic. Photos are static. They are captured moments, frozen in time, but not these. In these photos, she was alive, and she was watching me. My apartment, usually my sanctuary, suddenly felt like a cage. The familiar shadows in the corners seemed to stretch and deepen. Was I losing my mind? Was this some kind of bizarre next-level digital watermark I'd never heard of, or was it something else entirely? I closed the editing software, but I couldn't close my eyes. The image of her gaze was burned onto the back of my eyelids. That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I drifted off, I saw her eyes staring out from the digital darkness, watching, waiting. The wedding was over, but for me, something was just beginning. The city outside is a ghost, sleeping under a blanket of artificial orange light, but in here, in my studio, it's just me and the silence. Or, what used to be silence. It's 2:13 in the morning, and the world has gone sideways. It started subtly, a flicker of the desk lamp, the kind that makes you rub your eyes and blame exhaustion. But then, the printer whirred to life. It hasn't been on in days. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the dead quiet. I didn't send anything to print. I swear, I didn't even touch my computer. Slowly, methodically, it began to feed a sheet of glossy photo paper through its rollers. The worry sound was unnervingly loud in the stillness of the night. I found myself frozen, watching as an image started to form, line by painful line. It was her, the woman from the old photograph, the one I found at the flea market, the one with eyes that I thought I imagined moving. But this time, it was different. The ink was wrong. It was too dark, too heavy. As the portrait emerged, the black ink for her eyes began to bleed, running down the page in thick, viscous streams. It looked like she was crying tears of tar. My breath hitched. This wasn't a malfunction. This was something else. I crept closer, my feet cold against the wooden floor. The printer finally fell silent, spitting the corrupted photo into the tray. It lay there, a grotesque parody of the original. The black tears seemed to stain the very air around it. My hand trembled as I reached out to pick it up. The paper felt unnaturally cold, damp with a strange, dark ink. The moment my fingers brushed against its edge, every light in the apartment died. The hum of the refrigerator, the glow of the modem, the faint city buzz from outside, everything vanished, plunged into absolute, suffocating darkness and a silence so profound it rang in my ears. My heart was a jackhammer now. I stood there, blind, clutching the picture. And that's when I heard it. It wasn't a sound from my building, not from the street. It was right here, in the room with me. A whisper, thin and fragile, like the rustle of dry leaves, yet it filled the entire space, echoing in the corners of my mind. A woman's voice, laced with an ancient sorrow and a chilling cold. It said, "You took my last picture." I dropped a photo, a gasp escaping my lips as the paper fluttered to the floor in the dark. I'm not alone in here. I'm definitely not alone. I don't know what I've invited into my home, but I think it wants something back. I'm recording this now, in the dark, whispering into my phone. I don't know what happens next. The whisper felt final, like a judgment. The air in my apartment turned icy, a sudden, unnatural chill that had nothing to do with the weather outside. A strange feeling, like static electricity, prickled at the back of my neck. I couldn't shake the sense that I wasn't alone anymore. It had been happening for a few days now, these odd little occurrences. A book falling off a shelf, a door creaking open on its own. I tried to laugh it off, blaming it on an old building settling or a draft, but tonight, it felt different, more intentional. My eyes kept darting towards the far wall, where I'd hung a framed photo from my wedding. It was my favorite picture of Sarah, captured just moments after we said our vows. Her smile was so bright, so full of life. But as I stared, something seemed wrong. The image looked distorted, hazy, like looking through a rain-streaked window. I got up, my heart starting to thrum a nervous rhythm against my ribs. As I got closer, a smell hit me, the sharp chemical scent of fresh ink. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers trembling slightly as I switched on the flashlight. The beam cut through the dim light, landing squarely on the photo, my breath hitched in my throat. The image of Sarah was melting, the vibrant colors were bleeding downwards, streaking the glass in dark, wet trails. Her beautiful smile was warping into a grotesque, weeping grimace. It was impossible. The photo had been professionally printed and sealed years ago. Yet, here it was, dissolving right before my eyes. A cold dread, heavy and suffocating, settled in my stomach. This wasn't a draft. This wasn't the building settling. This was something else. I stumbled back, my mind reeling, trying to process what I was seeing. My foot caught on something, and I tripped, landing hard in my desk chair. My gaze fell upon the dark, reflective surface of my laptop screen, and that's when I saw it. It wasn't my reflection staring back at me. It was her, Sarah, but not the Sarah I remembered. She was standing right behind my chair, shrouded in the gloom of the room. Her wedding dress looked pale and ethereal in the faint light from the screen. Her eyes were glowing with a soft, milky white light, and her lips were trembling, moving silently as if she was desperately trying to tell me something. A wave of pure, unadulterated terror washed over me. A strangled cry escaped my lips as I spun around in the chair, but there was nothing there. The space behind me was empty. The air was still and silent. Was I going crazy? Was grief finally making me lose my mind? My heart was pounding so hard I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. But then, my eyes locked onto the rocking chair in the corner of the room, the one that used to be hers. It was moving. Slowly, gently. It rocked back and forth, on its own, as if someone had just gotten up from it. The gentle, rhythmic creak of the wood was the only sound in the dead-silent apartment, a sound more terrifying than any scream. She was gone, but she was still here. The phone rings, jarring me from my morning coffee. It's the client from yesterday's family photo shoot. Her voice is trembling. "Aiden, did you edit her face?" Confused, I start to deny it. "What? No, I wouldn't do that." But she cuts me off, her words tumbling out in a panicked rush. Because in one picture, she's not in the frame. There's just a dark shape, standing behind my husband. Before I can even process what she's saying, before I can ask which picture or what she means, there's a sharp click. The line goes dead. I'm left staring at my phone, a cold dread creeping up my spine. What did she see in that photo? The day had been perfect. Sunny, not a cloud in the sky, and the couple was absolutely glowing. I packed up my gear, feeling really good about the shots I'd captured. But you know me, I'm a perfectionist. I couldn't just leave the raw files sitting on my drive until morning. That night, I drove back to my studio, just to do a quick once-over, make sure everything had transferred correctly. The city was quiet, the studio was dark, and honestly, I was looking forward to the peaceful hum of my computer. As soon as I walked in though, something felt off. It was a sound. A low, persistent humming that wasn't my usual computer fan. I traced it to my backup external hard drive, the one I'd just loaded the wedding photos onto. I reached out to touch it, and it was hot, way hotter than it should have been. My heart started to beat a little faster. You know that sinking feeling you get when you think you've lost a client's files? It was that, times 1,000. I took a deep breath, told myself not to panic, and plugged it into my main computer. The drive icon popped up, and I clicked it open. But instead of seeing the familiar folders from today's shoot, my screen was flooded. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of new folders appeared, populating the screen faster than I could track. My initial panic turned to sheer confusion. The folder names weren't random strings of text, they were dates. Dates from tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, all stretching into the future. My mind was racing. Was this a virus? A really weird prank? I was frozen for a solid minute, just staring at this impossible list of folders. Curiosity finally got the better of me. My hand was shaking as I moved the mouse and just clicked on a random folder. The date on it was for 2 days from now. Inside was a single image file. My breath hitched in my throat as the preview loaded. The photo was of me. I was sitting right here, in this very chair, at this exact desk. My face was illuminated by the glow of the monitor. My expression a mix of focus and something else. Confusion, maybe fear. I was editing photos, the same ones from the wedding. Everything was identical: the clutter on my desk, the half-empty coffee mug, the way I was leaning into the screen. But there was one detail that made the air go cold. One detail that wasn't true in that moment. In the photo, a hand was resting gently on my shoulder. It was a delicate hand, with a simple, elegant wedding band. I recognized it instantly. It was the bride's hand. I spun around in my chair so fast I almost fell out of it. The studio was empty, silent. The only sound was the frantic pounding of my own heart and the low, steady hum of the drive. I stared at the photo again, my brain trying and failing to process what I was seeing. A picture of me, in the future, with the bride from the wedding I just shot, right here in my studio. What does it mean? Why would she be here? Why does this drive have pictures from the future? I have no idea what's going on, but I have a terrible feeling that in 2 days I'm going to find out. The flicker of the safe light is the only thing that cuts through the oppressive dark of my studio. It's my sanctuary, the place where moments are frozen, where memories are made permanent. Or so I thought. Tonight, it feels more like a tomb. I was just finishing up the edits for the Henderson wedding. Beautiful ceremony, lovely couple. I was staring at a shot of the bride, Chloe, her smile radiating pure joy. That's when the main power cut out, plunging me into a chilling silence, broken only by the hum of my backup generator powering the single monitor. The photo on the screen flickered. For a second I thought it was a power surge, but then, it happened again. Her smile, the one I'd captured just yesterday, began to stretch. It pulled unnaturally wide, twisting her delicate features into a grotesque parody of happiness. Her eyes started to roll upward, the pupils disappearing completely, leaving only stark, lifeless whites staring out from the screen. A cold dread, heavy and suffocating, started to creep up my spine. This wasn't a glitch. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I tried to look away, to convince myself I was just tired, that my mind was playing tricks on me. But a soft rustling sound from the walls drew my attention. The sound of paper shifting. I slowly turned my head. All around me, pinned to the walls, were the proofs from the wedding. Dozens of them. And in the dim, pulsing red light, I saw it. One by one, the faces and the photos were turning. The groom, the bridesmaids, the smiling guests. All their printed heads were swiveling in a perfectly synchronized, silent motion. Their paper eyes, once looking at the camera, were now all fixed directly on me. Panic seized me. I let out a choked gasp, scrambling backward, my chair scraping loudly against the concrete floor. My hand fumbled for the only weapon I had: my camera. My lifeline, the thing I used to capture light and truth. I raised it, my fingers shaking as I aimed the lens into the darkness. Aiden, a distorted, gurgling voice, whispered from the screen, sounding like Chloe but horribly wrong. I screamed, a raw, primal sound of pure terror, and hit the flash. The world exploded in a blinding white light, and in that frozen, bleached-out instant, she was there. Not on the screen, not on the wall. The bride, inches from my face. Her head was tilted at an impossible angle. her eyes twitching violently in their sockets, a symphony of horrifying tics. Her jaw was unhinged, hanging slack and open far wider than any humans should. The flash died, and the darkness crashed back in, but the after-image of her terrifying face was burned onto my retinas. I could still feel the cold, dead air where she had stood. I don't know what I captured in that photo, and I'm terrified to look. The frantic screams had started just after midnight, a guttural, desperate sound that echoed through the thin apartment walls. For hours, they rose and fell, punctuated by terrifying silences. The neighbors, huddled in their own beds, tried to ignore it, telling themselves it was just a late-night movie or a lover's quarrel. But as the sun began to cast long morning shadows, an unsettling quiet fell over the building. A quiet that felt heavier, more final, than any of the screams. That's when someone finally called the police. 2 officers arrived, their boots thudding up the stairs. They announced themselves at apartment 4B, but only silence answered. After getting the landlord's key, they pushed the door open to a scene of unsettling normalcy. The small apartment was neat, almost sterile. There were no signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no blood. It was completely empty. It was as if the tenant, a young vlogger named Aiden, had simply vanished into thin air. They canvassed the room, their eyes scanning for anything out of place. On the desk, nestled between a laptop and a stack of books, was a small digital camera. Its lens was pointed directly at an empty wooden chair in the center of the room, and a tiny red light blinked steadily. It was still recording. One of the officers carefully powered it down and removed the SD card, hoping it held some clue as to what had happened. Back at the station, they plugged the card into a reader. The last video file was hours long, mostly just Aiden talking to the camera, growing more and more agitated. He spoke of an antique wedding dress he'd bought, of a strange presence he felt. The final few minutes were just the empty chair, bathed in the dim light of his desk lamp. The officer fast-forwarded, then stopped. The last frame, the very last image captured before the recording ended. It wasn't just the empty chair. Sitting there, posed gracefully as if for a portrait, was a woman in a vintage, yellowed wedding dress. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap, but it was her face that made the officer's blood run cold. She was smiling, a wide, unnatural grin, and her eyes, once described by Aiden in the video as being painted shut on the mannequin the dress came on, were now wide open. They were perfectly still, staring directly into the camera lens, as if she had been waiting for them all along. Picture this: an old, dusty camera is discovered in a forgotten Seattle apartment. Weeks go by, and then a Reddit user posts a photo from it with a simple, chilling title: "We found this camera in an abandoned Seattle apartment." The image itself is eerie, a portrait of a woman with a strange, distant gaze. But that's not even the creepiest part. The post explodes. Thousands of comments, but one rises to the top, sending shivers down everyone's spine. It reads, "Weird thing when you download it. Her eyes look right at you." People rush to test it. They download the file, and as the image opens on their screens, the woman's eyes, once looking away, are now fixed directly on them. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really helps me out.